Yes, sir. What's good, Josh? Your man Two Flows back with another episode of Sonnets and Souls, and today I'm reacting to Cinema Summary. Man, I love this channel. Dude talks about how characters could have better handled situations in movies based on survival. All right, as you can see, the title says "How to Beat the Death Maze" and Maze Runner. All right, let's get right to it, man. Let's get to it, man. And by the way, I've seen this movie, but I'm kind of rusty on the details, so it's still kind of fresh in my head. So, and trust me, all my reactions are authentic. It's authentic. Don't play. I think this is, man. All right, let's get it.
If you wake up in the middle of an unbeatable maze that's always changing and is filled with bloodthirsty monsters, what do you do? The secret behind why you're here is terrifying, and you'll have to overcome the most impossible odds to get out of this alive. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the death maze in Maze Runner. This kid has a one-way ticket to hell. He wakes up in an elevator with no idea how he got here when suddenly the doors open and he sees a group of boys staring down at him. He's pulled out of the shaft and the group surrounds him, but he's completely overwhelmed. Scared for his life, he runs across the field in a panic, but stops as he realizes there's nowhere to go. 4 massive walls surround them, and everyone here is trapped inside with only one way out. He's thrown and locked into a pit with no idea what's going on when Albie, the leader of the boys, comes to introduce himself. He asks the kid if he knows where he came from, but he can't even remember his own name. The leader assures him the same thing happened to everyone else here and takes him on a tour of their community. He learns that every month the elevator sends up fresh supplies and a new recruit, but they still haven't figured out why. They climb up to a watchtower, and that's where Albie here lays down the 3 rules he must obey. Everyone must contribute to the community, no one's allowed to hurt each other, and never go beyond the walls. But the leader has no idea that in 6 days, this place will be swarming with deadly monsters, and everyone will be breaking these rules to stay alive. Okay. As far as death traps go, this could be a lot worse. If I had a choice to be stuck in a school and forced to kill my classmates, or stuck in Central Park, forced to pick berries and build tree houses, this seems like a pretty sweet deal. But there's one horrifying detail here that can't be overlooked. Albie here told us that everyone who comes up through this elevator doesn't remember anything about their past, and this is a dead giveaway about what this place really is. These kids are experiencing what's called retrograde amnesia, which prevents you from recalling memories that were formed before whatever caused it, but it can't remove all memories from your entire life. Since all their memories are completely gone, we can deduce that this wasn't triggered by any natural causes like a head injury, trauma, or dementia. They still have their regular motor functions and language, but also their critical thinking ability in the prefrontal cortex is completely intact. That means that they can—
I gotta get some water. Water break. All right, let's get it, man. I need my water, man. I'm almost out.
Can respond to a problem and solve it just as well as they could before, but without the help, they can't remove all memories from your entire life. Since all their memories are completely gone, we can deduce that this wasn't triggered by any natural causes like a head injury, trauma, or dementia. They still have their regular motor functions and language, but also their critical thinking ability in the prefrontal cortex is completely intact. That means that they can respond to a problem and solve it just as well as they could before, but without the help of their memories. If only the specific parts of the brain that control memory are affected, the only logical alternative is that our memories are being intentionally and forcefully erased. Now, Albie here told us that they're given supplies and a new recruit every month, and judging by how many kids are here, that's a lot of months to accumulate this many people. If they've been here this long, then whoever's wiping our memories wants to keep us alive long enough to observe our behavior because they're sending supplies. This gives me enough to assume that someone is studying us like mice in the world's most.
What I'm wondering is if they're there for so long, why didn't they make a whole community? Or I mean, matter of fact, I'm not gonna hold you. It was a bunch of dudes. Let's continue.
Expensive science experiment, and just like mice in a lab, it means we're all expendable for the purposes of scientific discovery. Later, the new kid goes to check out the gate and sees two boys running through the walls opening. He asks this little kid Chuck why they're allowed to leave, and he's told only the runners can go into the maze. Curious, the kid walks out to take a closer look, but as soon as he reaches the opening, he gets shoved to the ground. He jumps up to defend himself, but the others run in to try and calm him down. That's when the leader insists they can't let him leave. But suddenly,
Bro, you could have told me that and not put your hands on me. So when I get to decking you like some cards, bro, when I put you in a wheat wop, when I hit you with the maggot, don't be surprised if this movie ends up having 3 more hours added to it. Because I'm gonna hit you with the wheat wop, the maggot, the hog smash. I'm gonna hit you with everything. You could have just told dude, and we're talking on survival, so I'm not getting off topic. You could have told dude, hey man, whoa, don't go there. But now I gotta take it there. You see what I'm saying? Man?
he hears
Let's
a
see
roar
what he
coming
said.
from deep within the maze, and the wall begins to close shut. Something dangerous is waiting for anyone who tries to escape, and when they finally face it, only 9 of them will survive. That night, they have a bonfire to celebrate this month's shipment of supplies. The second in command, Newt, sits with the new kid and tells him
Hold on, let me get this straight. Y'all burning. It's a lot of trees here.
about the runners. Their job is to map out the entirety of the maze beyond the wall, but they've been here for 3 years and still haven't found a way out. Every single night, the maze changes its layout, with monsters inside called Grievers that will kill anyone in its path, but no one's ever seen them and lived. The second in command leads him through the celebration, explaining they all have different jobs in the community, but that's when Gally, the chief builder, wants to see what he's made of and picks a fight, and the new kid accepts the challenge. They start to wrestle, and
And this is the same dude that pushed last dude this is the same dude that pushed him on the floor. I'm pushing you in the fire, bro. I don't got time to be like, stop playing with me. I'm gonna push you in the fire and it's a wrap, bro. Like, I don't got time for that, bro.
quickly gets knocked to the ground, but when he hits his head, he suddenly remembers that his name is Thomas. Okay, our memory is slowly coming back, but if it's me, I don't care what my name is because I'm way more concerned about these monsters we were just told about. This is not just a social experiment, this is a proper death scenario, and if we aren't doing everything we can to eliminate these monsters and escape this place, then even your name is a waste of time. Now normally, as soon as I realize my life is in danger, I'd be sacrificing everyone here to stay alive, but unfortunately, it appears we're going to be needing them. We have no choice but to work together as a team for survival, so everything here needs to be looked at like it's a valuable resource, and that includes the people in this maze. With a death trap this big, there's no way one person can beat this alone, so the faster we make friends, the sooner they can help us escape before we need to use them as meat shields. Now, as organized as they all appear to be, there's a lot of evidence that suggests these guys are getting complacent. They've been here for 3 years already, and the labor groups that they've organized themselves into are all for sustainable living and not for escaping. There's a whole team of builders, and all they've done is build.
So basically, they're getting comfortable. So basically, he just said all the groups that are there are not organized as survival groups. So they don't have gunners, they don't have lookouts, they don't have scouts, they don't have, the spearsmen, they don't have the blacksmith, they have gardeners. Tom does the apple seeds. Steve does the pumpkin seeds. You get what I'm saying? So basically, this is probably why they couldn't figure out how to escape for 3 whole years. They're conflicted on whether to get comfortable staying there or to escape. Because if you're focused on escaping, you're not thinking about growing a garden. You're thinking about, if you are thinking about growing a garden, you're getting your food supplies and you're stacking it up. You see what I'm saying? You're not going to have runners going out there with nothing on their back, with no type of, food source or nothing. Like, you're tripping. All that, most of that food would have to go to the runners. You see what I'm saying? And everybody else would be planting and stuff like that. And we still have no clue who the runners are because we haven't seen them yet, but
build houses, a prison, and a town hall for their weekly talent shows. If they're here another year, they might build a bank and a grocery store, and that's really the wrong attitude to have when monsters are at your doorstep.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, it's a maze. You feel me? Why not build a bank? Why not build a system? Because if you do that, eventually you're going to have an army. Eventually you might have advancements in technology. You know what I'm saying? I would do that. So, I mean, why not? You got people running in there getting killed left and right. And what's going to benefit from having a runner go there? What are the chances of a runner actually making it out and then feeling like, man, maybe I should go back? You're bugging. Nobody's doing that. If I'm a runner and I escape, I'm not coming back. I'm not even gonna try to come back. I probably done lost a leg, a arm, and everything else. Just getting out of there. And you think I'm about to come back? Come on, man. Let's be smart here, man.
The next day, the leader formally welcomes the new kid into the tribe and gives him a knife to carve his name into the wall. Thomas notices that several names have been scratched out and is told that those are all the people who died since the leader arrived here. Later, the new kid is put to work in the garden and asks the second in command if anyone has tried climbing the wall. The boy tells him it's impossible to climb because the ivy doesn't go all the way to the top. He tries to suggest another idea, but is quickly shut down as the kid insists they tried tons of things to escape and none of them have worked. The second in command suggests he helps him out by digging up fertilizer from the woods. Okay, I know this kid is new, but if I were him, I would be calling bullshit. This guy just told us that the vines don't reach the top, except they must not have looked very hard because I can see right here that they definitely do. Now, even though Newt here is wrong about the vines not reaching the top, he would definitely be right to say that it's a terrible idea. Even if you could climb the vines, it would take an extremely skilled athlete with gorilla-sized forearms to actually make it to the top without falling to your death, because this wall is insanely high. In comparison to the average 16-year-old male, which is 68 inches, this wall must be roughly 200 to 300 feet tall, and that's the same height as the Statue of Liberty. Having said that, there are still plenty of other things we should try here, because reaching the top might tell us more about this death trap than they've learned in over 3 years. Now, a ladder might seem like an obvious choice, but this would actually be a terrible idea. It's too narrow, which makes it unstable, and the structure isn't designed to support the length. But there's another option they've seriously overlooked here. Bamboo can be used to build scaffolding structures as high as 60 stories, which is twice the height of this wall. Hong Kong still uses this technique today for both construction and renovation, and it's extremely strong and reliable. The great thing is that they already have bamboo, as we can see right here, and if they don't have enough, they wouldn't have to wait for very long to get more, because bamboo is one of the fastest growing plants on Earth. These things can grow up to 3 feet per day, and they even self-multiply because it reproduces through rhizomes. I would suggest that we destroy this ridiculous town hall they've built themselves and use the corner of these two walls for extra structural support. By using the vines to tie the shoots together, they could build themselves something that the Chinese have been doing for hundreds of years and finally reach the top. Now don't get me wrong, because it would still be incredibly difficult and dangerous to build for a bunch of kids who haven't done it before. But if they haven't tried it, then I'll win the argument against this kid and his no-can-do attitude, and he can go and fetch his own fertilizer from now on. Thomas here is sent into the forest to gather more fertilizer for their crops, and on the way, he finds one of the runners standing still in the woods. He asks if the guy is okay, but suddenly gets tackled to the ground. The runner yells that this is all his fault.
Thomas been getting his ass beat all day, bro.
And the new kid has to bash his head with a goat skull to get free. He's chased into the clearing where he calls for help and is rescued by the second in command, who knocks the crazed runner off of him. Holding the boy down, the group discovers that he's been stung by a griever, and the others carry him to the pit to keep the runner under observation. Thomas here has no idea why the guy accused him, but he'll soon discover that he knows a lot more about this place than he realizes. Later, the poisoned runner is taken to the maze's entrance, and this kid, Min Ho, throws a bag through the opening. The boys start pushing the runner towards the labyrinth, and as the doors begin to close, they banish him to face the grievers alone. Okay, that was a very logical thing to do in this situation. Now, Albie here has already witnessed the terrible things that happen when someone gets stung, and it's the reason they're always banished to the maze. He insists that nothing good comes from keeping them inside, but I think there are a few problems with his theory. Once he changes, he will get stronger and more dangerous, and that's absolutely great news, because this means we can use him as a weapon of self-defense. If all of these crossed out names of people were used as an army of the dead, this would be a much more useful way to deal with them. I would chain them all to the walls of the maze so that if a griever ever tries to attack us, we'll have advance warning, and they'll have to get through all of our stung friends before they can get in.
I'm gonna tell you this. That's obviously not gonna work, because you have a bunch of first off, you just had all of their names crossed off and you fed them to these very same grievers. Although they can be a warning, what is putting them before that griever is gonna do? The grievers are just gonna eat them and then they're gonna eat you. What do you need a warning for if you can't beat these things? You see what I'm saying? Everybody's already on high alert. If you have somebody take that position of alertness, meaning having a lookout instead of you always being on guard, being on point, then you become lazy and you become more comfortable. The goal is to always be on alert, always understand, because if you're relying on your lookout to be somebody other than yourself, then you're taking some seriousness away from your task. You see what I'm saying? That leaves you more time and more room to do this, that, and the third that has nothing to do with what's going on. I mean, y'all already said y'all got groups that have nothing to do with survival. I mean, escaping, but only agriculture. Your groups only have to do with agriculture and entertainment. It has nothing to do with surviving. So y'all already not focusing on the right thing. You got a small group of runners, this, that, and the third. We'll see how it goes, though. But in my opinion, that doesn't make any sense.
Under the circumstances, if I was about to die and I knew that even in my death, I was still protecting my brothers from the Grievers, I would definitely choose that over any other option. The next morning, he wakes up and sees the runners leave the glade along with the leader, Albie. He asks the second in command why someone that important would risk his life, and finds out he's gonna figure out how that runner got stung. Later that day, the boys wait by the maze entrance for the runners to return, but they're late, and the group starts to get worried that something terrible has happened. Thomas here suggests they send someone to find them, but the second in command refuses. They won't let anyone risk their lives, and the gates begin to close. That's when Thomas spots the runners on the other side and sees Min-Ho dragging the leader towards the glade. Everyone knows they won't make it, but the new kid refuses to leave them behind. He runs into the maze and reaches the other side just before the wall slams shut. Now all three of them are trapped inside where no one has ever survived the night. Okay, this was the mother of all bad ideas. This idiot rushed into the maze with no time to help them to safety and didn't even bother bringing them weapons or resources to survive the night. Now, if I was Min-Ho here, I would be trying to hide a big fat smile, because now I have not just one, but two bodies that I could use as meat shields to feed to the Grievers and run away.
If Min-Ho isn't the third in command, I don't know why he'd be smiling. Because right now you got the first in command here, and you got a dude who almost has his full memory. So literally you got the secrets to the maze sitting right next to the most experienced person that y'all put in leadership. So why would you be talking about extra bodies and stuff like that? If all you're worried about is extra bodies, you'll just be the last one left. It's going to take a lot more than 2 bodies to survive a maze. Come on, man. It's not smart. You putting Griever food?
His chances of survival have just doubled and might become the only person to.
His chances of survival have doubled. No, they didn't. One Griever could take out all 3, y'all. What sense does that make? Having 2 extra people means nothing. You're only going to get about 2 extra feet before the Griever catches up to you. Come on, man.
To ever survive the maze at night. Now, these runners are like soldiers, and even when it's not the most logical thing to do for survival, they will risk their lives to save their brothers. If it were me, however, I would have let the leader for dead and used his own rules to justify it.
You're like, what? Yo, is dude trying to beat a court case? Like, yo, this is about survival. This has nothing to do with you and your righteousness. You have to survive. Actually, yeah, this has nothing to do with specifically righteousness. This is about survival, bro. You got to get from one place to the next. Actually, no. Depending on what you mean by righteousness, because from what I can tell, cinema summary, when you're saying this, you're saying it as though it's righteous to only focus on staying alive. But my real definition of righteousness and that's what I'm saying. That's whatever. Look, I'm gonna spit it to you like this, man. You're killing the leader, and you're killing your potential key to really get out of there. All right. You have 2 extra bodies. They're dead. Now you're the last one left, and you still don't know where you're at. None of that guarantees. You're about to trade 2 working brains for what? It's nonsense, man. You got 2 working brains and 4 extra hands, bro. 2 working brains, 4 extra hands. And you're gonna trade that like they're sandbags, bro?
Just yesterday, they banished this runner to the maze because he was stung. So by the leader's own logic, he shouldn't be let into the glade anyways. Now, there's a glaring problem here.
Is the leader stung? I don't know if he's stung.
That needs to be addressed, because after 3 years of running through the maze, it's very likely that this situation has happened before. If I was a runner, I would have dug a tunnel under the maze entrance here so that if we ever got caught on the wrong side, there was still a way to reach the glade safely. Considering how many people have apparently been stung before, we would learn that these things are actually massive spider-like creatures that wouldn't be able to fit inside a human-sized tunnel. With this in mind, it would also be smart to use these tunnels to make shortcuts in the maze so that they can both evade grievers and also to explore further into the maze quicker than ever before. It's honestly shocking how little they've done in 3 years to prepare for situations just like this. Thomas here asks the runner what happened and finds out the leader got stung by a monster.
One thing though, you got anything that could drill concrete in the forest? I'll wait. I won't.
But they suddenly hear a roar in the distance. Something is coming, and Minho says they have to leave, but the new kid insists they take the leader with them. Going through the corridors, they're exhausted from carrying the boy, and with the grievers getting closer, the new kid suggests they need to hide him. The runner tells them there's nothing they can do, but when Thomas notices a wall covered in ivy, he suddenly has an idea. They tie the leader to the vines and lift him up the wall to safety, but the runner notices a shape in the distance. Terrified, the boy leaves the new kid behind and he has no choice but to slip underneath the ivy to hide. The monster approaches and the kid sees its metallic legs pass by, but the griever doesn't notice him or the leader hanging from the wall. Coming out of hiding, he thinks the coast is clear, but when he turns around, the griever lunges at him and the kid runs further into the maze. Suddenly, he bumps into the runner and together the boys cut through a closing corridor, but that's when Thomas here has another idea. Seeing the griever come around a corner, he taunts it to lure it through the closing wall. Following him in, he runs as fast as he can and manages to narrowly escape his death. The next morning, the maze door opens and the boys think their friends didn't survive the night. But just as they're walking away, the 3 kids appear in the distance. They set the injured leader on the ground as the runner tells them that Thomas here killed a griever in the maze, and all of them are speechless. Okay, nobody here has been brave enough to even see a griever after 3 years, and this kid has already killed one in less than 3 days. If that doesn't earn you instant respect from these guys, then I don't know what does. But all this back padding is making us forget a key detail here. If I was the new kid who just accomplished the impossible, I would be a little pissed off right now. Because when it mattered most, Minho here left us in the dust to save himself. This highlights a...
I'll be whooping your ass, man. I would be whooping your ass, bro. Like what? Yo, matter of fact, just to make it even worse, I wouldn't even dog you immediately. Like I would wait till the leader wakes up. I you know what I'm saying, play cool with you. Yeah, really? Oh, look at that vine over there. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Oh, what you growing there, bamboo? And I'm gonna wait till he gets up. Hey, yo, man, good. Hey, yo, you know, dude left us, right? All right. Hey, yo, young ho. No, it's me. Go rock them. Me, my cat. Feel me?
Serious problem, because he seems to be the only person who knows the maze's layout, and if he's not trustworthy, then that's an unacceptable risk. Just like how monks would copy documents.
Unacceptable, 100%. I don't care if you're scary. I don't care what it, bro. Why'd you even run in there in the first place? Feel me? You, like, Thomas went in there trying to save you, and you ran on him. That's bogus, man.
And manuscripts, it should be mandatory that everyone in this community memorize the layout of this maze so that no matter what happens, it's never lost. This information might be the most valuable thing to our long-term survival, and it needs to be secured. If this runner has a habit of throwing people under the bus when his life is in danger, then we need to make sure we'll never have to rely on him for our survival ever again. Now, Thomas had some great ideas that made him one of the first people to ever survive a night in the maze. Using the vines to pull the leader to safety was an excellent use of the environment to solve a life-threatening situation, but it also would have
Y'all gotta get rid of that boy.
taken way too long. First, they had to find the right vine, tie him up, and then pull him high enough to the top so he's out of sight. When you're running for your life, this is poor time management, and the alternative is so much easier. It looks like there was plenty of room to hide all 3 of them under the vines here without having to get creative. With a solution as obvious as this, it really makes you wonder how nobody survived the night in the maze, because it's the maze runner equivalent to hiding under the bed, and it was still enough to trick this monster. I would have stayed here for the rest of the night until the sun rose and walked out of the maze
I mean, but then, on the contrary, that griever could have been coming around looking for the dude who was running. So it probably heard dude running, tapping the wall, screaming, and it went looking for him. So it probably believed he was the only one. You know what I'm saying?
hero. All the boys gather in the town hall where the chief builder holds a meeting. He thinks they should punish the new kid for going into the maze without...
Yo, whose mans is this, bro? Like, as soon as he would have said something slick out his mouth, mop, me mop, boo wop, beat bop, beat up, whopper, whop, bamboo. I got a cheesesteak in my shoe. You see what I'm saying? You gotta do man's study, buddy. You gotta, yo. This is like the third time. This is the third time dude done violated, bro. Like it has to go up, bro. It's up. It's up. I don't want to hear nothing else. And plus, he wasn't even on the mission. I don't want to hear you talking. Close your mouth. Before I gotta dust you and crush you. You feel me?
without permission. Break.
And who is he? Is he? What is his rank? Is he even he's not second in command. I don't know.
Breaking the rules and killing Grievers could be dangerous, but the others disagree, and Minho here suggests they make him a runner. Gally argues his point, but he's interrupted when an alarm starts blaring and they all rush outside to discover that the elevator is 27 days ahead of schedule. Inside, the boys find an unconscious girl lying on the floor, and in her hand is a note saying she's the last one ever. Suddenly,
whoever wrote that note, you are wild. You are wild, man. You know what you were doing, bro. You know what you were doing, bro. You're wild, bro.
the girl wakes up and calls a new kid by his name before passing out. The chief builder thinks something bad is going to happen and that it's all Thomas's fault. The girl is taken.
His name is the chief builder, bro. Why is he making all these decisions if it's not about building? I don't know.
Into the medical hut, and she still hasn't woken up. Thomas here asks the second in command about the note he found, but Newt here tries to downplay his worries and believes once this girl wakes up, they'll get their answers. The boy leaves and heads to the maze to find out more about the Griever.
Man, don't touch me, man. Don't touch me, man.
He killed, and Minho here wants to help. Finding others to join them, the group enters the maze to look for answers and reach the dead Griever from last night. Thomas here notices that there's something flashing, and the boys work together to pull it out of the wall. The runner reaches into one of the organs and finds an electric tracker with the number 7 glowing on a display. It's property of a company called WCKD, or Wicked, and the group decides to head back to the glade before more Grievers show up. Okay, things are getting interesting, because this is their first clue that might help them escape, but it's also going to scare a lot of people in the community. From their perspective, things are moving way too fast, and that makes the chief builder's hesitation completely understandable.
Because you're unqualified to be talking too hot. You're bogus. You're bogus. Nobody, bro, like, this is what I'm saying. Why are you called the chief builder? You never killed the Griever, bro. Like, the new dude got more credit than you do. Like, bro.
The problem
And y'all still listening to this dude?
is they're in the middle of a death game, and just because they don't make any moves doesn't mean there isn't any danger. Now, this note here suggests the maze creators won't send up any more supplies or recruits. Eventually, there's going to be a shortage of resources, and that means we now have a deadline to escape. I would immediately take inventory of our supplies to calculate how much time we have to live and to make sure we have a plan before we run out of resources and die. First, we should have as many people as possible traveling into the maze to find an exit. But if we're going to be encountering more Grievers, then we'll be needing better weapons. They have bamboo spears, which are very strong, but there's a way to make them even more deadly. I would go back to the Griever's corpse and take its claws, tie one tightly to the end of my spear, and encourage the others to do the same. With 8 claws to each Griever, we could raise an army with a much better chance at killing the other monsters we encounter. The next thing I would investigate is the elevator, because if the last shipment was sent, then it won't cost us anything to tamper with. The giant pulley here looks like it's made of thick rope, so I try to cut it to free the cage from the elevator's mechanics, and it might let us use that rope to—
I don't think that'll work. Once again, I don't see anything in that far as that could... Well, he's probably talking about with the Griever arm and stuff like that, so yeah.
manually lower someone down in the cage. Now, this is obviously a dangerous mission, because hacking the elevator to take the backdoor exit might be considered cheating, and whoever's setting things up could be waiting below to kill us when we reach the bottom. This is exactly why I would send someone else on this mission, but even in the worst case scenario, we're going to get more information than we had before based on how the maze creators respond. Returning to the glade, they show the tracker to the second in command, and he realizes that whoever made the Grievers were the same people who sent up the supplies. The chief builder argues the new kid should be punished for breaking the Glade's rules, and Newt here agrees, but first decides to make Thomas a runner, allowing him to explore the rest of the maze. Now officially a runner, Min-Ho brings him into a hut, revealing a huge model of the maze. He's mapped every inch of the place and there's no way out, but hasn't told anyone else in the Glade. Now that they've killed a Griever, the runner has finally figured something out that changes everything. The maze is divided into several sections with numbers painted on each wall from 1 to 8. A new section opens up every night in a particular sequence, and the Griever they killed must have come from section 7. He thinks if they investigate that section, they'll figure out what's going on. That's when these boys come into the hut and tell them that the girl is awake. They run outside and find the girl throwing rocks at the others from the watchtower, but when Thomas calls out his name, she stops. He climbs up the tower to talk, and she has no idea who anyone is, but knows her name is Teresa. He asks what else she remembers, and she recalls a woman saying wicked is good. Thomas reveals he's been having dreams of the same thing, and she was in all of them. She then pulls out 2 syringes from her pocket with the letters WCKD, just like the tracker they found, and Thomas realizes these might be an antidote for the poisoned leader. Okay, Thomas here was smart to put this information together, but he's about to make a terrible decision. It might be reasonable to assume that the vials were sent out because Albie was stung by a Griever, but there's one problem with this logic. In the history of the Glade, they've never sent antidotes for anyone who's ever been stung before, so there's no reason to think that this case is any different. It's also very unlikely that the extra vial is just a backup, because this is not a place of extras and conveniences, it's a death maze and you're lucky to even be alive. This makes me think that the vials are not for the leader at all. It sounds cold-blooded, but I would not give Albie here an antidote, because there's no information that we need from him that makes him worth keeping alive. Right now, Min-Ho is the most important.
How do you know that? How do you know that? The dude gives you a small piece, an introduction of what's going on. On top of that, he's a runner, so he's been around the maze a few times. He definitely has information that you need. This new girl just got there. Thomas got lucky. The other dude, he ran. Everybody else, I don't even think they're runners. So the dude that's the leader who's been there multiple times, he has, honestly, he still has the most important information. So what are you talking about, bro? You just ready to sacrifice, bro. Like, you tripping.
Person in the Glade, because he knows the layout of the maze. But since he's already shown us his secret model, even he becomes disposable. We can't ignore that there were 2 people
Oh, yeah. Oh, you talking about dude, Young Ho? Yeah.
sent up that have memories of each other, and there are exactly 2 vials. If these 2 kids know more about this place than anyone else, then our top priority is to keep them alive at all costs. The maze creators only send up resources, not threats. So we know whatever the effects of this medicine are, it's going to be a net positive. So it should be safe for the 2 people who might have insider knowledge on what this experiment actually is.
Now, how long are we going to wait until all of their knowledge comes together? All she knows is her name and that somebody was saying wicked is good. This dude barely even knows his name. And y'all putting them over the leader? Come on, man. You're putting them over the leader? You would not survive, bro.
They show the antidote to the second in command, and after some convincing, he agrees to let them try to use it on the infected leader. But suddenly, the boy grabs Thomas by the collar and starts freaking out. The others rush in to hold him down, and the girl grabs the antidote and jams a syringe right into his gut. The leader starts to calm down, and the second in command orders a guard to watch over him, but that's when the chief builder, Gally, enters the hut to take the new kid to the pit for his night of punishment. Later that night, this little kid Chuck arrives to sneak him some food, and decides to show him a carving he made. He wants to give it to him because he thinks Thomas here has the best shot of getting out of here, and if he ever manages to escape the maze, he can send it to his parents on the outside. The new kid won't accept the gift, and makes him a promise that they'll all escape the maze together, but it's a promise he'll soon have to break. The next day, the new kid and the runner go to Section 7 deep inside the maze, discovering that it's open 1 week ahead of schedule. Inside, they find the bloodied remains of the runner who was banished days ago, and realize he was eaten by a Griever. All of a sudden, the tracker they brought starts clicking, and Thomas here realizes that this device might show them a way to escape the maze. It guides them across a massive bridge, and they slowly walk to the end. But suddenly, the tracker's light turns green, and behind them, a wall begins to open. They slowly approach the tunnel, but as soon as they reach the opening, a light shoots out and scans their bodies, detecting their presence. Suddenly, alarms start blaring, and the sound is terrifying. The boys run out as the walls close behind them. Just when they think they've escaped, the ground starts rising up beneath them, and they run for their lives. This maze is more dangerous than they even realized, and they're absolutely helpless. They climb up a closing wall and crawl back into the maze, narrowly avoiding getting crushed to death. Okay, if I was running through this maze, I'd be absolutely terrified. When the entire floor can fold up and crush you, then it's not a place we should be spending a lot of time, and this is exactly why they need to climb the walls. If we look more closely at the journey they took to get here, we can see that there are grooves all over the place that would help them climb a lot more easily than from inside the glade. If we make it to the top, then we won't have to run for our lives every time we walk inside.
Remember who you're running with. Remember who you're running with. Young Ho. Remember who you're running with, man. All them plans, it sounds good, but remember who you're running with, man.
And we can get a lot more done to find out how to escape. It will be challenging to cross the gaps and reach other sections, but this could easily be fixed by making a ladder bridge with rope and bamboo and bringing it into the maze. Even without
Who's carrying it?
cross-section beam support and load-bearing poles of a scaffolding, bamboo has a stronger tensile strength than steel, withstanding 28,000 pounds of force. We still have to deal with grievers because they are able to climb walls, but it's going to be a lot easier to avoid them if you're 300 feet in the air where they don't notice you. Now, these two runners found a new section of the maze, and they even opened a gateway with this tracker. I'll be the first to admit that if I saw an open door here, I would take it and leave everyone else behind. But there's one detail here they missed that was telling them how to escape. As soon as they were scanned, the alarm sounded and the door closed. We know that it's not because they have the wrong tracker, so the most logical conclusion is that when the maze scanned them, they didn't have enough people to allow them to pass through. Going back to get more people is the only way to escape this place. Returning to the glade, they tell the others there might be an exit, but the chief builder thinks it could get all of them killed. Thomas here confronts him, pointing out that he's done more in 5 days than Gally has in 3 years. But their argument is interrupted when the girl tells them all that the leader is awake. In the medical hut, the new kid tells Albie here that they may have found a way out of the maze, but the leader says they can't leave. He's recovered all of his memories, and remembers that Thomas here was working with the maze creators before this.
Damn, he the feds, boy. He's the feds, boy. And I'm not talking about the leader. I'm talking about Thomas, Thomas? Working with the feds, boy? Hey, man. If I was you, Thomas, I'd run out the room ASAP, my boy.
The kid can't believe what he's hearing, but they're all distracted when they
That's the best time to become a runner, man.
hear yelling across the glade. Running outside, they realize that the doors to the maze won't close shut and night is coming soon. This is the most dangerous thing that could have possibly happened, and there's nothing to stop the grievers from getting in. That's when all the other walls start to open up behind them, and the new kid realizes running is no longer an option. Suddenly, they hear a horrifying shriek and turn to see grievers heading straight towards them. Okay, I don't know about you, but these people are shockingly unprepared for the situation and should all be embarrassed. Personally, my very first instinct is to leave every single one of them in the dust and lock myself in the elevator shaft alone to teach them all a lesson in survival. Unfortunately, the only way to escape this place is if we bring more people back to the scanner inside the maze. The best thing to do is gather the closest people and lead them to the elevator. As soon as it's full, I'm not opening the cage for anyone, not even my own grandmother. Now, it's a bit too late at this point,
This dude is ruthless.
but there were some very basic things I could have done to prevent a worst case scenario like this. The key thing is having obstacles to stop anything from easily charging into the glade. A common technique to prevent this is the cheval de frise, which is a simple barricade of long wooden poles and could have been one of the first lines.
You got metal beings made to kill you, and you're using wood and trees?
Of the fence. Secondly, trenches and ditches could have been used to give the gladers extra protection in case they needed to duck out of an attack. Instead of building a council hall, they could have dug bunkers. Every night they had to listen to the griever shrieks, and that would have been the first thing that crossed my mind. All they need is a place of safety to hide for a single night, and they couldn't even get that right. Everyone scatters across the glade in a panic, and Thomas here runs through the corn.
That's the thing, though. You're hiding in a bunker, and a bunker was artificially made. It wasn't made with anything in the forest. So you're saying that they should have made more of these, but they don't have the materials to replicate what wasn't even made where they're at. You see what I'm saying?
Field as the monsters start picking people off. He finally makes it across the glade and reaches the leader in the medical hut, but more grievers start surrounding them and there are too many to fight off. Together, they all run towards the council hall, but one of the creatures comes crashing through a building and stops them in their tracks. They have nowhere to run, but without hesitation, the girl throws a lantern at its face and sets it on fire. The group makes it to the council hall, barricading the doors behind them, and they all think they're safe. But that's when a griever shows up and breaks in through the roof. Suddenly,
Like I said, the whole thing is made of wood. How are they going to replicate that? How are they going to make a safe space if what they've made doesn't work?
Chuck here gets grabbed by the griever's tail and is about to be poisoned, but the leader hacks its stinger off and cuts him loose. They all think it's over, but the monster attacks again and yanks the leader out of the hut. The new kid tries to hold on to him, but with his dying words, Albie here tells him to set the boys free. The griever yanks him out, and Thomas runs outside to look for him, but Albie's gone and the glade is in ruins. Outside, the chief builder walks right up
with these, boy, it won't be no sequel for Buddy, boy. Yo, what is this, the fourth time he put hands on Thomas? Yo, look, I could understand getting sympathy for the character. You want the fans to feel like he's going through struggles. We want to help him. Yeah, we want to help him succeed. This ain't it, bro. Like you specifically look for this man and snuffed him. Like he specifically looked for you and snuffed you. Like you. He snuffed you.
to the new kid and punches him hard in the face, blaming him for everything that happened. Standing up, Thomas here wonders if he might be right, but that's when he notices that the monster's stinger is still
Get him. Get him. Get him.
intact. He remembers that the leader's memory returned after he was poisoned and has a crazy idea. Desperate for answers to escape the maze, the kid jams the stinger into his stomach and collapses to the ground as the poison begins to take effect. Okay, this was horrible timing. First of all, it's not a terrible idea to inject yourself with the poison and the antidote. He saw clear evidence that it restored all of Albie's memories, and that makes it totally worth it. The problem is that right now, he needs to be fighting for the future of the Glade, and poisoning himself is going to make it impossible to control what happens next. When he passes out, Gally could take over and banish him into the maze if he wants to. If the chief builder was mad enough, he might even confiscate the
Yeah, he should have told him. He should have told him, like, yo, y'all wake me back up. I'm going to use the antidote. But I'm pretty sure Thomas got more supporters than Gally does.
antidote before Thomas here could get treated with it. He has no
And honestly, that actually was the best time because Gally just punched dude for no reason. And everybody saw it. So there's really no debate on who's more logical and who's more emotional. You see what I'm saying? But
control over the situation at this moment, and that makes it a terrible idea. I would have waited to resolve the fight with Gally and found a safe place to test this poison in a controlled environment.
by resolve, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I hope it's not a conversation, man.
Now, having said that, there's a much bigger cost to this than anyone even realizes. Right now, our only priority is to get as many people as possible to follow us into the maze so we can escape through that doorway. But that's going to be a lot more difficult when we've just been viciously attacked by grievers. If we're the new kid, we should assume that everyone will be blaming us for this horrible situation, because as soon as we arrived, everything started changing, and now they don't even have a home. We need to make sure we can get everyone to trust us enough to escape together. And that's exactly why I would put all the blame on Gally, the chief builder. This whole time, he's been making the point that the maze is too dangerous to explore and doesn't want anyone to leave. He's also the chief builder, so he has the most knowledge and experience to build defensive structures for the Glade. The fact that this Griever
It wouldn't have worked.
attack even happened is a strong case that
And how are you gonna build defenses for it when it's crushing wood? All we have at our dispense is either wood or bamboo. Now, we haven't seen it go up against bamboo, but we have seen it go up against wood, and we've trusted wood enough to make all of our structures out of wood. I have yet, the only structure that I've seen made out of bamboo were the cages and the vines that they use for agriculture, like when they made the plants and the food and stuff like that, which I don't know why you use bamboo for that, but and then turn around and you make a shelter out of regular wood, knowing that, come on, man.
Gally should not be leading
And y'all been there for 3 years? Come on, man.
anyone. He had 3 years to plan for their protection and prepare the Glade for a possible attack, but he did absolutely nothing to prevent it. I would use this to drive all the survivors against him, and once they realize there's no point in staying in the ruins of their home, they'll
I mean, what I would do, I wouldn't automatically ban him because we got to get the knowledge that he has before we ban him. Because his knowledge makes him an asset, but his attitude makes it a liability, makes him a liability. You see what I'm saying?
leave Gally here in his empire of dirt and join us into the maze to help us all escape. He wakes up the next morning and locked inside the pit to find his friends staring down at him from outside the cage. They tell him that the chief builder Gally has become the new leader and has forced everyone to choose between joining him or being banished.
Y'all gotta be the softest group of people I ever seen in my life. You let one dude who's clearly, what he do, punch y'all in the face? Did he threaten to punch y'all in the face? Is that what happened? I mean, he been giving Tom, he made Tommy look like Martin after he fought Tommy Hearns. So what is that what he threatened? Like, come on, man. Y'all, I know y'all not that scared, bro. Y'all facing Grievers and you're scared of one dude? Cause you know how, like, come on, man.
He's convinced the boys that Thomas is the cause of all of their problems, and that's when the new kid drops a truth bomb on them. The poison has made him remember everything, and he reveals that he and the girl were working with the maze creators to help study all the kids in the Glade for 3 years in a massive experiment. Everyone is shocked, but the second in command says whoever he used to be doesn't matter, and right now all they need to focus on is survival. Later, the prisoners are brought out to the maze's entrance to be banished, but the others start to question if the new kid might be right. The chief builder Gally tells them there is no escaping this place, and since Thomas has disturbed the peace, he's going to sacrifice them to the Grievers so that everything will go back to the way it was before. Gally here orders these two boys to tie the kid up, but when they grab him, he attacks, and his friends suddenly
So now you attack. Dude,
join in the fight, stopping the chief builder from intervening. They all realize that there's no going back to the way things were before, and Thomas is their last and only chance to escape. The new kid announces they're going to leave, and tells the other boys that they can't stay here forever, but he's certain he knows how to escape. They run through the maze with Thomas.
get food. Before you run out there with the group, get food. Get food. Get food. Get food. I don't care how many people's there. Get food.
Guiding them until they reach the same bridge they visited before in Section 7. Spotting a Griever at the end of the walkway, they fearlessly rush forward and attack it, working together to fight it off with their spears. The little kid and the girl run to the door with the tracking device when suddenly a wall opens up and they head deeper inside the tunnel. More Grievers arrive and the boys can barely hold them off. But that's when a holographic display lights up with 8 numbers flashing, and the girl tells Thomas that they need a code to enter. Realizing it's the maze's pattern, the runner here yells out the answer as the group retreats into the tunnel, and when the girl inputs the final number, the walls squish the Grievers to death. Suddenly, a door swings open,
This is Young Ho who said that? Okay.
and they walk in to find a research lab with dead scientists all over the floor. Watching a video log recorded by the director of Wicked, he finds out that most of human civilization was destroyed by a solar flare, then an incurable virus spread, but only a very small percentage of the remaining population was immune to it. Wicked used the maze as an experiment to observe their behavior and try to figure out why these kids were so unique. All the kids were lab rats, and the video log ends with the woman taking the coward's way out as armed soldiers stormed the lab. Okay, this is a horrifying revelation, but there's one detail here that I find even more upsetting. When the group walked into the room, the runner kicked the gun away from the dead guard as though he knew it was a dangerous weapon, but he didn't even consider picking it up. If it were me, I would have ordered them all to loot the bodies for both information and weapons. Most of them wouldn't know how to fire a gun because of memory loss, but Thomas's memory is restored so he could easily teach them how to use it. At the very least, if the outside world is a wasteland with a dangerous virus that turns people into rage zombies, we're going to be needing much more than spears and machetes. Suddenly, the door to the outside world opens and Thomas here is about to lead them out, when Gally appears behind them and tells them to stop. The chief builder has been stung by a griever and points his gun at the kid. Just as he's about to pull the trigger, the little kid jumps in front of his friend to protect him as the runner throws his spear straight into the builder's chest. But Chuck here caught the bullet. He falls to the floor, and the little kid gives him the wooden carving to deliver to his parents, using his last moments to thank Thomas for his friendship. It's heartbreaking, but before they have time to mourn, armed soldiers run in and drag the group outside.
Where the hell y'all been at?
The children are escorted into a helicopter that takes off, giving them all a view of the maze from above. They finally get to see where they've all been living for 3 years in a single view, and it's way bigger than they ever imagined. Meanwhile, the director of Wicked is still alive. She was faking her death this whole time and reveals to a boardroom that the maze trials were a success, but phase 2 will now begin.
But what do you think? How would you beat the Maze Runner? Let me know with a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, leave a like and subscribe, and check out the How to Beat playlist for more videos like this. Until next time, have a damn good day.
You heard it, man. Like, subscribe, and join me for another episode when I break this down, alright? Shout out Cinema Summary. Thank you for actually I just decided to react to the video on my own. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he had a lot of good ideas, and you know, I obviously believe my ideas were also good, and you know, couldn't come to an exact conclusion, but nonetheless, they survived. They made it. Only one death. And yeah, it's your man 2 Flows on Science and Souls. To the next episode. Peace out. I gotta go. You did?
If you wake up in the middle of an